Good evening, everybody, and thank you all for coming. I'm Noreen McClendon. I am the author of Her People Highway, as well as the executive director of Concerned Citizens of South Central Los Angeles. I have been motivated to create and I'm trying to desperately to create a place for people who have been incarcerated, their loved ones, to come and be heard. One thing about people who have been incarceration is an experience that unless you've experienced it, you don't know about it. I have been teaching in correctional institutions since 2013. I was dating someone who was incarcerated, but I've never been incarcerated. And so what I'm doing tonight is asking people that have been incarcerated to tell me what would make this a safe space for people that have been incarcerated to come and share their stories, to try to get to the root of those things that have caused hurt and pain, trauma, so that we can heal from those things. In addition to that, it's called Freed to Heal. Number one, because you're free from incarceration right now, but also people sometimes need to be freed from old ways of thinking, old ways of doing things, in order that they might be able to heal. For me, what I had to heal from, what be freed from before I could heal in my trauma, was I had to free myself from blaming the people that hurt me. I had to accept responsibility for those things that I permitted and engaged in. And so I have an idea. I have been facilitating groups for some time. I have been teaching in CIW since 2013. I've been facilitating a group on relationships at the Francisco Homes, which is a halfway house for men who were formerly serving life sentences, since 2013. However, it does not mean that I know everything. That I know, even though I have been successful in helping people through that process, it doesn't mean that I know all of what needs to happen in order to make it a safe space. So the goal here is how I typically facilitate a group, which we will follow that format. We come in, we do a check-in. The check-in is your name. You can say one word to describe how you're feeling, or you can go into into more detail. The reason the check-in is important is that no matter what material I may have planned for this particular session, whatever's going on in the group, if there's someone in the group that's going through something, the most important thing for us to do, for me to do, is to allow that issue to be addressed. So in that vein also, what I'm going to create, and I would hope that those people who are not able to be in attendance will utilize this, where you will send emails or questions or put in comments, issues that you would like to see be addressed in this setting. We have people who have been in federal prison and people who have been in state prison, because they're not the same experience. And so the goal is to make sure that I'm addressing the needs of those people who have been in both state and federal prison, and that they have a safe place to come, that they might be able to be heard by people who understand, people who have lived it. Again, I've been around people who've been incarcerated, but I've never been incarcerated, and it is not the same thing. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So what I tend to do to create a safe space is I have a set of ground rules. The first of which is that we always speak for self. We would say our opinion, in my opinion. We don't cross talk, we don't debate. There's no debating with somebody's opinion. There's, this has to be a place where people can feel free to express themselves. And the one thing I will never allow as a facilitator is for anyone's issue, opinion to be sabotaged, minimized, marginalized, not in my presence. So we start with ground rules. The other thing is that once we do our check-in, then whatever material I have planned for that particular session, we will address it unless the check-in dictates that we go to a topic that someone or an issue that someone in the group has brought up at the time. And after the material is handled or covered, then we go to a checkout. And I will tell everybody, the best time in the world, the most powerful gems and jewels come out and check out. So if you attend our sessions, even if you're watching it online, whatever you do, you want to stay for the checkout. Because in group dynamics, what tends to happen is people who don't talk a lot will be shy, may not speak. But when you give them the opportunity at the end to say what they got from it, they have some of the most powerful observations of all. And some of the most powerful things come out. I have learned more things in checkouts than I have throughout the course, a lot of times, in the course of a group. Now, the reason for having this with people who have been incarcerated is because there's nobody else that speaks that language. Peer learning, peer sharing, peer gatherings, those things, when it's your peers and they understand there's a language that people who are incarcerated speak. If I said something to somebody about a good boy, a good girl chrono, nobody on the street is going to have any idea what I'm talking about. Nobody. Okay? These are things that need to be shared one with another. There is also how do I say this? There's a process of reintegration that is designed by the system for you to fail when you come home from incarceration. It is not designed for you to succeed. In my facilitation at the halfway house, I tell the men when they first come home, whatever you do, be patient with yourself and be patient with the process. Know that it is designed to cause you to trip up and to fail, so that when those frustrations come, there's someone who understands that you understand that it was designed for you to fail, so that you can pull back your emotions, pull down your temper, tamp down the disrespect, because incarcerated people, disrespect is a really low level. It don't take much. Me talking like this is considered disrespect in a penitentiary. Incarceration, though, creates trauma in everybody that's touched by it. It's the pebble effect. When you, instead of dropping something in the water and creating ripples, we're pulling something out. There are things that happen that only people understand. I'm gonna give my present audience a chuckle. One of the things that I talk to the women in the prison about is I'm constantly trying to explain to them things that they may encounter that may make them have anxiety attacks when they come home. And one of those is stop wearing shower shoes. Some people don't know what that means. In prison, you wear shoes in the shower, flip-flops, to prevent from getting disease. It is a matter of life and death. It really could make that much of a difference. Okay? So there are people who still, I know my dude that I was seeing, when he came to my house and he left, I realized there was some flip-flops in the shower, because he had not yet deinstitutionalized, which is one of the things that we're going to talk about here. There's trauma. I know a lady who spent 33 years in the prison had an anxiety attack at the ATM machine when actual cash came out of the machine. Family members don't know what that means. They don't know what that feels like. They don't understand. I had a young man tell me, I said, "How you doing, son?" He was best friends with my son. "How you doing?" "Oh, I'm good, Mom. I'm good. Everything was good." Been out about 6 months. "Everything is fine." I knew better. So I said, "How you sleeping at night?" "Oh, no, that's not so good because Mom's keeps the house so hot, but I'm just so happy that she allowed me to come here that I don't want to complain." I have a tenant who the maintenance staff wasn't correcting maintenance issues in her apartment. "Oh, no, Miss Noreen, I'm just so glad to have an apartment. I don't want to complain." I call that hogwash.
Right.
Hogwash, because I'm going to take your rent every month. You have a right to have things repaired in your apartment. But there is often the feeling that I'm so thankful and grateful just to be free that I don't want to make waves. I don't want to upset the apple cart. So I'll just be quiet. I'll take low and I'll suffer through this. Well, I'm here to say, I want this to be a place where you can scream and holler and get it off your chest. If nothing else, you may be able to listen to this if you can't be here and hear some things that you've been through that might actually help you through the situation that you're going through at that particular moment. The other thing that we will do periodically, at least probably twice a month, is to have people come and tell their stories. I want you all to tell your stories, whether it's what got you into incarceration, whether it's what helped you heal from the trauma of what caused you to go to prison, whether it's to help you heal from the trauma of being incarcerated, whether it is to tell your story of redemption, whether it is to tell your story of how you overcame the system, how you beat the system, how you beat the odds. Because if you're here, if you're free and you have a roof over your head and a relatively sane mind, you beat the odds. You beat the odds. Because again, it wasn't designed for you to win. It wasn't designed for you to win. So we'll have people coming and telling their testimonies. The people that are here are not necessarily having their faces recorded, because I want to make sure that people feel comfortable to speak freely. However, anyone that wants to be on camera is certainly welcome to do that. We encourage it. But the most important thing is that the information, the stories, be shared. And this evening is for me to make sure that I am doing what the population needs. I never want to assume that I know what you need. And so I'm going to ask you all to give me things that you feel would help. I'm going to ask a series of questions, and I would like for you all to answer them. Thankfully, there's someone here who has been in a group that I facilitated and is aware of how it functions for them. And then I have someone here who's been in federal prison and someone who's been in state prison. And so that way we get an input from everyone who might be affected. And I am a loved one of someone who is incarcerated. So we're kind of covering the gamut of who this is intended for.